the team who doesn't fully understand Scrum and expects you to do certain things, maybe the management and the leadership also doesn't understand Scrum. So as a Scrum Master, because I coach Scrum Masters in my regular job also, the thing I always tell the Scrum Masters is your organization is watching you. They just don't know it yet, but they are watching you, right? So you do the right thing, whether or not they are aware of what the right thing is or not, because everybody has a journey of accepting that. So the Scrum Master teaching the team Scrum is almost like a metaphor. It's not meant to be taken literally saying that that's all you're doing, but that there's a lot to that, because there's a lot to setting certain boundary conditions for quality. There's a lot to removing impediments on a regular basis, fostering a culture of self-organization where people are assigning work to each other as opposed to you getting in there, teaching people how to remove their own technical impediments as opposed to you removing it for them. There's a lot of that coaching that goes on a regular basis. Another thing you could do is, weave all of this definition of done, definition of ready into your team agreements. So your team agreements become this holistic set of things that you need on a regular basis, not just to interact with each other, but also to work more effectively with each other. So it's a good idea to weave those in as part of your overall team agreements. It's extremely important. I think you sort of answered your own question there. If you don't have a good definition of done, then how do you measure the completeness of work? Right? So your definition of done is extremely important as a boundary condition of checking the quality of work that's going on. And even when you get to say your sprint review or you're getting to your demo session, if you will, what you want is your product owner should come prepared to that session, which means the product owner being an available team member is hopefully incrementally approving the work as work is getting done. So when the sprint review comes rolling around, the product owner is actually doing the demonstration of that work with the team for the stakeholders, because your demonstration is really external facing. It's for the stakeholders. It's not for the product owner. Whoever those stakeholders are, whether they're internal, external, doesn't matter. But the idea is that the demonstration is for them. The product owner is a representative of those stakeholders who is already working on their behalf and incrementally approving work. Because imagine a situation where if the product owner waits till the end of the time box to approve something, what if they don't like what they see? You just wasted the entire time box, right? So in terms of lowering the cost of that surprise or that change, if you will, you want to get a product owner who is incrementally approving the work throughout that time cycle. Right? So DoD is extremely important. So I would say plan for what you can plan, right? So release planning at the end of the day is a coarse grain projection. So you want to, most importantly, set expectations with people who are going to have a stake in this release plan, whether that's your team as well as their leadership and the external users, internal users, customers, whoever. You've got to set certain dimensions to what this release plan means. Also, another thing to keep in mind is set the expectation with folks that release planning is not a one-time event. It's a release planning ongoing activity, which means every time we finish a certain amount of work, we will have to go back and recalibrate this release plan with whatever happened in this time box. If we said we would do 10 things and we only finished 8 things, then those 2 things need to go back and get recalibrated in the longer forecast, because something will also get slipped or there'll be some trade-offs and adjustments and things like that. So it's an ongoing activity that you want to continue doing as a product owner with your stakeholders, right? Now, when you're getting out of release planning, preferably have a firm plan for at least the next immediate time box and a coarse grained forecast for the next couple of time boxes after that. Now, I can't say that you should have it for 3 weeks or you should have it for 6 months. That depends on how difficult the project is, how much you know about it, the depth of the product backlog available, the length of the project and things like that. Every company will treat it differently. So there aren't any golden rules or industry standards around it. But what I will say is if you're working for at least a few time boxes, coming out of release planning, have a firm grained plan of one immediate time box and a coarse grained projection of a few time boxes beyond that. And as you go through each time box, set aside a certain amount of time to do refinement, which means you're refining the line of sight for the future. And as you're progressively refining the line of sight, just like your velocity for delivering on the line of sight compounds over time, your velocity for refining the line of sight also compounds over time. And so gradually you will start to refine for 2 time boxes, 3 time boxes, 4 time boxes ahead of time. That's how you gradually build the depth in the line of sight over time. But it'll happen over time. It won't happen on day one. So you want to sort of progressively evolve that runway of work as you go through the project. Because like you said, you need feedback from your stakeholders.